Hello, welcome to SkullRipper's Sports Corner. I'm Mitchell.
And I am Max.
And today we will be focusing on the NFL. Let's get started. Our first topic of the day will be Darrelle Revis. Will he get traded? Will he stay? What's going to happen? Max, what are your thoughts?
Well, I see the Jets as them not having the strongest defense at this point. They are coming off a rough year, trying to rebuild, so Darrelle Revis is the focus point of their defense, so I say they keep him and sign him for whatever they need to.
All right. Well, I was thinking he had the ACL tear this year. Really big, bad thing for him. And they have a new GM. That's tons of stuff that adds up to the fact that he may not play there next year. They may not want him. They may think he's injury prone, which he kind of is, if you think about it. So I'm going to move on. Maybe he does get traded. Maybe he doesn't. I'm going to go to some teams that he may go to. Two top teams that I'm thinking of right now, same division in the NFC, Seattle and 49ers. One of those teams gets him. Their defense goes from here to here. They just become a dominating defense and possibly the favorite to win the Super Bowl. What do you think about that, Max?
Well, I believe that neither of the defenses will, because they will not have enough cap room on their defense to sign that highly of a salary player, and they have strong corners at on their teams already.
Can you give me any teams that you think may get him if there were a trade? One team at least, just one.
Well, I believe that he won't get traded, so I will not say a trade.
All right. Well, that's all we got on this. Now we'll move on to the next topic. Free agency. The season might not be over yet. Free agency might even be starting pretty soon. But we're going to tell you a few players and where they might go. We'll start with Greg Jennings. Max?
I got Greg Jennings going to the Vikings. Is one of the highest possibility teams. For one, they have the strong offensive line. They got the best rusher in the league, and they got a young quarterback who needs a wideout that's going to stay. Percy Harvin, a lot of question marks around him. So if they get Jennings, he can have that one target he can rely on with Rudolph in the red zone. They become a Super Bowl contender with that already. Top D.
Yes, I agree. That would be one of the best offenses with already a great defense. That would be really good. But I'm going to focus on one thing for my two teams. I'm going to start out with Miami. Ryan Tannehill. Rookie quarterback, but he's not as good as the other rookies. The other rookies, something they have and he doesn't, is already a good wide receiver. Reggie Wayne, Pierre Garçon, and Russell Wilson doesn't have anybody. I'll get into that later. He's got Golden Tate. I mean, kind of good. Fail Mary good. But anyway, moving on. Miami needs a wide receiver there. He's got Brian Hartline, right?
Yep, Hartline and Devon Best.
That's good. He's got two decent wide receivers. He needs a great one, though, if he wants to become a great quarterback and maybe even take his team further on. So I think they may get Greg Jennings. Another team like that, Seattle. Russell Wilson's already been able to prove he can do it without good wide receivers. Sidney Rice, let's face it, he's not good. He's not good. And Golden Tate, he's playing pretty good for this season, but once again, really one of his only targets. If they got Greg Jennings, they would make them one of an elite squad on offense. They really could do some damage in the playoffs. Moving on to our next player, Reggie Bush. Max?
Well, I see Reggie Bush going to the Cardinals. It's one of the top possibilities. Well, they need some work on their offensive line, which I see them doing at the draft this year. But they got Fitz, and they have Bush. And the other free agent that I see going to the Cardinals is also Michael Vick. And they could be running off of the spread offense with Bush and Vick, and they will be one of the new contender in the NFC West with the already great Niners and Seahawks.
Yep. Well, I got two different theories for this one. Okay. First off, Jets. We all know they're rebuilding. Sean Green's been there for a while. He's done decent, but he's kind of trailed off, and they've been doing a passing team. They need a new running back, a new offense to go around. Mark Sanchez is gone. They need a new great running back to bring this back until they can get a quarterback in there. Maybe Matt Barkley in the draft. We'll get into that on a later episode. Anyway, Jets are a possibility. The next one I thought, and I really thought about this, the Lions. Couldn't they use a really... I know they got LaShore, but Bush could really help that team. They already got a great passing attack. LaShore's young. He might not have another season like he did when he came in halfway through. Bush really would help their offense out enormously, and I really think he would. Anyway, that's it for free agency. Now we'll move on to our next topic. Something they do before the Super Bowl is they hand out the awards. We're going to be going through 5 awards today, and we'll start out with the Comeback Player of the Year. Go, Max.
Well, I see AP as probably the #1 option at Comeback Player of the Year. For one reason, he just tore his ACL at the end of December against the Redskins. Just a terrible injury. He came back in 8 months. Didn't even have contact in practice at all until basically the last practice leading up to the game. And he just goes out there, and every single week he puts up big numbers, and he leads the league in rushing yards, coming 9 yards short of Eric Dickerson's rushing record. I just believe that's insane. What do you think who the Defensive Player of the Year is going to be, Mitch?
Defensive Player of the Year? Easy choice for me. J.J. Swats. Got the most swats in the league. Is really big on helping that Houston defense, who I'd rank up there, maybe even the best. Came this close to the sack record, and he was the top player in swats, getting the quarterbacks to not throw the ball well, basically, and disrupting the running game. He was like a defense in his own. I really can't see anybody else doing as good as him. So what about the Offensive Player of the Year, Max? Who do you got for that?
Well, I got AP again. I mean, he just took that Vikings team down the stretch. He put the team on his back. I mean, having to play against the Packers Week 17, Packers possibly getting a bye in the first round. I mean, if they got that bye, who knows what they could have done in playoffs. But AP just went in there knowing that he had to get that record, but he just put that aside and just ran as hard as he could. And I believe that was one of the best rushing performances I've ever seen. And that's what took them to the playoffs. What do you think the Rookie of the Year is going to be, Mitch?
I think the Rookie of the Year should be Russell Wilson. I know you may think it should be RG3. Well, you shouldn't. He doesn't deserve it. Luck's probably the next candidate, but I think it should be Russell Wilson. He tied Peyton Manning's 26 touchdown record in a rookie season. I think that's a great thing. You tie a record from Peyton Manning. That's something that is great.
Well, I don't think he should have tied that record there with the Hail Mary pass, but
officially he tied the record.
We'll put that aside.
Also, he helped the team go into the playoffs, win the first. Taking playoffs into this, even though that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They basically in the regular season, they just dominated on offense. They really did. They dominated on that. Their running game was perfect, and he was able to do great because of it. Going into the postseason, because he did the same thing. He did it against the Redskins. He made the big comeback at the end, and then in the next game, probably should have won that game. He probably should have. He may have cost it by not calling timeouts, not throwing the ball away, but still, one heck of a game. I have to admit that, but I really think it should be Russell Wilson. What about you, Max? What Rookie of the Year? What do you think it would be?
Well, I got Andrew Luck at Rookie of the Year. I can't believe that just getting that one quarterback just completes the entire team. I mean, they're coming off of a 2-14 season. Just an awful team. Reminds me of the 0-16 Lions. And then they just get Luck, and he just takes that team just to the next step, and they're a playoff contender for many years to come. Who do you think the MVP is going to be, Mitch?
The MVP, the big question everybody's asking. Let's get to it. The MVP, I think, is going to be Adrian Peterson. You know, it's down between the 3 players, and I'll name them off. If you got anybody else other than this, you're an idiot who's just rooting for your own team. Adrian Peterson, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers. You got those two quarterbacks and the running back. I'm sorry, but you got a running back 9 yards away from breaking the all-time rushing record.
Mm-hmm.
Over 2,000 yards. He got a great amount of touchdowns as well. Didn't fumble the ball like he used to do as much. He really put up a phenomenal season. And the thing about Peyton Manning was, he put up a great season, but I don't know. Drew Brees last year, he broke records and he didn't get the award, so Peyton Manning's season, take that away. And then Aaron Rodgers, probably I would put him in second because of his QB rating. He had a really good QB rating this year, but I think, first off, MVP, you have to break it down to what it is, most valuable player. Without Aaron Rodgers, could they have made the playoffs? This year, probably not, because they had a really bad backup. Last year, with Matt Flynn, it's a possible 9-7, 10-6 season. They probably could have made it. So, thinking of it, I really think Adrian Peterson was more valuable to the Vikings than Aaron Rodgers was to the Pack. I really think that Pack this year, they wouldn't have made it probably, but they would have came closer than the Vikings without Adrian Peterson.
I just think if the Vikings didn't have Adrian Peterson, they would have been in a 4-12 season. No defense, no passing game. They would have been just terrible if he never came back from the ACL injury. So I would agree with Mitch on Adrian Peterson being the most valuable player.
You're probably thinking to yourself, a sports show in January and nothing about the Super Bowl? Well, guess what? We are doing something about the Super Bowl right now. So, right now, we're going to talk about the two teams who made the Super Bowl. The Ravens, the 49ers. How did they make the playoffs? How did they make the Super Bowl? And how will they win the Super Bowl? All that right now. So, Max, how do you think the Ravens will made the playoffs?
Well, I think they made the playoffs. Just for one, they didn't play in that great of a division this year. Cincy was good, but they have a young team yet. I mean, they're still growing. The Browns, they just aren't good at all, and the Steelers weren't the team this year. So I think that helped big, and them getting hot at the end of the season also was a huge key to them making the playoffs.
All right, 49ers. The reason Smith was able to keep his job most of the season was because he was able to play decent. In some places, if you play decent and your team loses, you'll lose your job. The thing was, the defense was able to carry him to wins, so he wasn't able to lose it. But the coaches saw that he was just a decent quarterback. They saw Kaepernick being able to play the same or better, but he has that much more to learn, which means he'll be better than Smith is right now pretty soon. So they started him, which really, once they did that, their offense became as dynamic as their defense and made them a really big team. I think that's probably the reason they made the playoffs the most. Now, how they made the Super Bowl, the Ravens, I hate to say this, but I always hated Flacco, really, but when he made that, the whatever it's called, when he said he was elite. He said he was elite.
Mm-hmm.
No one believed him and everyone laughed at him. But right now, no one's laughing at him because he is playing elite in the playoffs. He is playing amazing. I never thought he'd be able to play like this, and he is playing amazing. I never thought he could. Another thing is Ray Lewis being back in. Basically, him on defense, being able to round the whole defense up and get him out there and play good. They've been able to stop everybody, and they're really done good. And another thing, Flacco, I said he was playing elite. He is. He's playing as a top quarterback. He's playing better than Tom Brady, as he showcased last week against him. Really, this team, this playoffs, going to the Super Bowl, I think they are the team to beat.
Well, I'd have to disagree there. I got the Niners winning the Super Bowl, and I think how the Niners made the Super Bowl was basically just Colin Kaepernick putting the team on his back. I mean, that guy, he just, against the Packers for one, he just ran all over them. The best rushing game ever from a quarterback in a single game all time. and just he passed all over them too. I mean, the Packers defense just wasn't there, and the Niners just took advantage of it, and they couldn't stop Kaepernick. And when they played against Falcons, Kaepernick wasn't that explosive off the running game, but the Falcons basically tried just stopping Kaepernick, and they forgot that he could throw it, and they completely forgot about Frank Gore. And that is the reason why they beat the Falcons. And that is how I think the Niners made the Super Bowl.
All right. Who will win the Super Bowl? How will they win it? Well, starting off, I'll take the Ravens. I think they'll win the Super Bowl, and I'm about to tell you why they will win it. First off, Flacco will continue to play elite. If he plays like he has been playing, there's no doubt this Super Bowl will have one team at least scoring over 30 points. 49ers could do that, but I just think if Flacco keeps playing like this, he'll get that team over 30 points, definitely over in this. Another key to them winning, Ray Rice being able to move the chains. You know, hey, diddle diddle, Ray Rice up the middle. I mean, if he's able to move the chains, that gives Flacco a lot more, slack. He's not going to, when they punt on fourth down, you get down on yourself a little, and you get in the rut. You're going to go fourth down every time. But if you can run up the middle, his passing game will be able to pick up if he ever drops bad, and it will help the team score a lot and move down the field, control the clock, and control the game. Next, on defense, they need to be able to stop the 49ers' run game and force Kaepernick into bad decisions. If they can stop the run game, Frank Gore's out of the picture, but I'm also talking about Colin Kaepernick. If Colin Kaepernick can't run it, he's going to have to pass it. If he makes bad decisions, he's going to have to continue to pass it, and the more he passes, the more bad decisions he makes. Basically, I think the Ravens have all of the things they need to beat the 49ers and to win the Super Bowl. All they have to do is go out there and perform. Max?
Well, I think that the Niners will win the Super Bowl, and what they need to do to win the Super Bowl is stop Joe Flacco from going deep to Torrey Smith or Anquan Bolden. Just stop the deep ball and force them to have short games and stop them on third down. And they need to score on offense. When Kaepernick gets the ball, he's got to have confidence in his throws, and he can't take his time to throw the ball. He's got to get it and just throw it as soon as he can, and not let the Ravens pass rush disrupt him when throwing the ball. I believe that their spread offense will be key. I don't think that the Ravens defense will be able to focus on Frank Gore and Colin Kaepernick running the ball while having the threat to throw it at the same time. I just think that is why the Niners will win the Super Bowl.
All right. Ravens, 49ers, they clash next week. Who do you think will win?
Take your pick.
Drop it down in the comments below, and thanks for watching, guys.